Well, hello guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Look, if I haven't had the chance to meet you yet, my name is Tim Powell, and my wife Shelly and I have the privilege and the honor of being the campus pastors at our Greenbrier campus for New Life Church. Today I'm joined with one of my best friends, Pastor Adam Sutterfield. We get to do life together and hang out together, and our friendship actually started at a life group almost 18 years ago. And Adam, thank you so much for joining me today.
Glad to be here.
You know, we're about to kick off life groups. It's about to be life group launch.
That's right.
And if you had someone that was listening today that maybe they've never had the chance to get plugged into a life group, or maybe they've been like we were at one time and hesitant about showing up at somebody's house,
Right.
what would you tell them? I mean, what would you encourage someone today that was hesitant about getting involved in life?
I would say, show up at Life Group Launch, first of all, because Life Group Launch is a great place to check it all out. And it's laid back atmosphere on that weekend at church or whenever it's happening at your campus. And man, just go and meet some people and find out which one is fitting for your family, or that you think maybe you just need to make some relationships, or maybe it's at a group that you want to grow deeper in God. But I would say just take that chance, because a lot of times in most of our walks or in most of our experiences, honestly, the biggest thing is just taking that first step.
It really is. It really is. You know, our friendship started at a life group.
That's right.
18 years ago. We were talking about it earlier, and we knew each other a little bit from church. We've been a part of New Life Church for 18 plus years now, and we knew each other, but we really began to create a friendship through a life group, which turned into so much more than just the life group that we were in there.
Right.
I mean, what, and not to put you on the spot, but what would you say has really made the biggest impact for you from going to a life group? What was the biggest change that you noticed?
For sure. Well, for me, it's a no-brainer for me. At the point when we started going to New Life, my wife and I, we were trying to make a transition in our lifestyle, honestly, and even somewhat into our friend group and meet some new people. And we wanted to come closer to God. But, we were at a period where really that was kind of hard to do. And so honestly, as we joined a life group and started meeting good people that were within the church, that were godly people, that were pouring into us, that loved us, and just from the beginning, it made such an impact on me and my walk with God that allowed me to grow in ways that I never thought possible, honestly, through those relationships. And it was that support. And really just, we always say it all the time, but those life-giving relationships where people believed in me at a time when I didn't necessarily believe in myself. And so it was just a powerful time, and it was quickly that God used that to help us start then leading life groups, because we were passionate and we knew how it had changed our lives and how quickly we'd been impacted by it. And that's where we came in and we led a life group together.
Yep, and that's been 15, 16 years ago now, I guess. And for us as well, I will never forget, you talk about leading life groups together and the relationship that we built. Honestly, leading a life group was something that grew our relationship even more, and our families. We ended up going on vacation together, and I remember our kids when they were toddlers on the beach running around. But for me personally, I'll never forget, we were still in the old car dealership in Conway on Deer Street, and my wife's father passed away. And it was tough. It was tough on my wife. It was unexpected. We were dealing with some things at the time with her stepmom, and we just didn't expect that phone call to come in that day. And he lived in another town. And I remember having to notify my wife that her father had passed away. She was actually helping set up at the church for a women's event. And that was special to have the people from the church there and surrounding us and pouring into us. But I'll never forget the day of the funeral. And we were in another town. We had so much going on. And I look back, and there was almost an entire row of people, including the Sutterfields, that was there for us to support us in a time in our life when things felt like they were falling apart.
Right.
But it was the relationships that we had built and that we had created that was ultimately were there to help support us in a time when we needed it. We were leading a life group together, but even leading a life group, we needed help. We needed somebody to come along beside us. And I think that's where a lot of people, they kind of miss it, because you either think, well, I've got to have it all together, or even to lead a life group, well, I don't have it all figured out. Man, that couldn't be further from the truth.
That's right. Honestly, God changed and transformed us. We were definitely not in the best place when we started in a life group. But it was through that we learned, and that was kind of my belief before, is that I kind of had to get it together before I could be involved in church or before I could really jump in. And it was through these relationships that God showed me, no, just take that step and let me help guide you. Let me help with each of those steps along the way of coming closer to Him and learning more about how to do that and how to have right relationships. And so it's just been vital in that. And I mean, gosh, who would have thought, we laugh about it all the time, but go back to 2003, that we would sit here together as we are doing something like this. Sure. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, it is exciting to see how far God has brought our families together and knitted them together, and of where we are today. And I can't help but wonder, what if we hadn't have taken that chance that day? Mm-hmm. What if we hadn't have said yes to going to that life group, or maybe said yes to leading that life group? Would it have been a preparation that God was preparing us so that we ultimately, all these years later, could be doing ministry together? Yeah. I don't know, but I do know this. You'll never regret it. If you get in one that you're not comfortable with, you don't like, Pastor Rick says it all the time, crawfish out and find you another one.
That's right.
Because there's going to be plenty to choose from. But I truly encourage you right now, especially in this season, many people have been trying to do life alone. Right. In fact, that's even what we've heard for almost a year now is, stay away. And it's important that we're able to do life together and grow together and encourage one another. And that's really what we want to encourage you guys to do today. We could go on for an hour. Yeah. As we speak right now, there is a book that is holding this camera up that includes pictures from a mission trip that we were able to take in 2017 together. And I think about the growth, and we've got so many stories, but those stories began with a small step of obedience to getting plugged into a life group, and then ultimately leading a life group. So one of the things, if maybe you're new to New Life Church, maybe you've never taken that step and decided to get plugged into a life group, I want to encourage you to give it a shot. It's time. And I promise you, looking back, 18 years from now, there may be somebody sitting there looking at this video going, you know what? That's where we started, was with a life group.
That's right.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. God bless you, and we'll see you at Life Group Launch.